Welcome back to Under Oath. Today we have actor Charles Baker. Charles, can you hear me, man?
Yes, I can. How you doing, Jeff?
One of the things I love most about actors is they never know what show's going to hit and not hit.
Yeah.
And you go from Breaking Bad, and you go, well, let me. I got a shot on this show called The Pit. What's the odds of me, lightning striking twice?
Right. Right. Yeah, that's I really didn't think it would happen. I thought, Breaking Bad was going to be the thing. And to be able to get to do that. And also I went from Breaking Bad to The Blacklist on NBC. And then several things in between, and then here we are on The Pit, and I've just it's amazing. I'm just so lucky.
Why don't that's the thing about acting. You never know what's going to hit. I mean, you've been doing a lot of stuff over many years. I mean, you're basically a military brat traveling around, and then you tell your dad. I mean, how tough was that conversation? Dad, I want to be an actor.
Yeah, that ended violently. Um, he was, and it took me a really long time to, really kind of understand that it was, out of fear for, what,
Yeah.
how are you going to support yourself? How are you going to live? How are you going to, don't you want to have a family someday? And that kind of weighed on me. He wanted me to go to West Point. And I wanted to be an actor, and so we conflicted over that. And it wasn't until Breaking Bad came out that he kind of went, maybe you were right, maybe I was wrong, maybe that wasn't for you. Um, so yeah, he kind of pushed both my older brothers into military service, and both of them ended up with dishonorable discharges
Oof.
because they were not meant for that, and I didn't want to fall into that same trap.
Military's tough. I was in the Army 3 years, and the Army will take a lot of your personality away from you.
Yeah,
There's a lot of conformity, and I was an actor going into the Army, and I can tell you, it took a lot of individuality out of you, and I
yeah,
could understand how tough it would be for you to make that choice. Going, hey, listen, I'm a very personable guy. I love the military, but I don't think it's for me.
yeah. Yeah, I've always been an artist. I'm a lover, not a fighter, and that's I my dad was commander at Fort Knox, Kentucky, when I was 8, 9 years old, and I went through basic training then. I went through all of that, and I knew how to. I've seen all of that. He took me to the Middle East when I was 10 years old, and I saw war firsthand. And I saw. The devastation, the terror, and lived, slept in bomb shelters and in bunkers, and at one point had to flee the country. It was not something I wanted in my life to ever have to experience again. And the idea of taking another life is just beyond me. I couldn't imagine.
Now, my daughter's an actor, and I bring this up because, I know she hasn't had the experiences I've had. So when she has to go pull a roll out or a tough thing or cry or something, like I told her, I said, I can cry whenever I want. I've seen death. I can pull that off. And, growing up the way you did, I mean, I can't imagine how many times you pull from that when it comes time to be on set.
Yeah, yeah. That's there's so many like skills that I gained, not necessarily great skills. How to survive torture has helped, working on shows where I'm wearing full prosthetics on my face, and Jim Carrey talks about it with The Grinch on how he had to go through torture survival training techniques from the military in order to endure that, and I totally understand that because it's a lot like a lot like that. And it also, traveling around the world helped me understand, I think, people better and societies better and cultures better, and have a better understanding of the extreme diverse um, humanity that uh, is abundant in this world, and it's not all black and white as everyone would seem to prefer it to be. Um,
Yeah, I get that. I can see how tough sometimes it is to go when you get a role and you go, okay, I'm going to pull from this, or when you're auditioning, I'm going to pull from that. Now, you get the opportunity to do the Pit. I mean, is that an audition, or do they even give you anything on that?
Yeah, there was an audition. I actually sent two tapes in. One tape, I I did the same character twice. One I did very timid and very kind, and the other one I did just almost vile and mean, using the exact same script. And I think that might have helped because this character is bipolar. Um, but we see, in the show, it's only one day in the life of all these characters. And so we get to see John Digby and on a good day, I guess, relative for a guy who has schizophrenia and is bipolar. Um, and, yeah, it's very interesting to kind of put that skin on and play that role for a while.
Mental health is tough. I mean, especially in today's world where you're just seeing so much of it. And, getting that right for you as an actor, also being aware that, people are going to be going, oh, is he making fun of this? Is this real? I mean, I can't imagine that responsibility.
Yeah, it's a thin tightrope to try
Yeah.
and tread. Luckily, the writers are amazing on the show. The directors are incredible, and they they will tell you, "Hey, pull that back a little bit. Going too much," or "Hey, maybe give us a little more of this." And it takes a team to really kind of make sure that that's done right, and hopefully we pull it off.
You just mentioned something that I ask a lot of actors when I get the opportunity to talk to them. And that is, how do you want to be directed when a director gives you, people give you notes, people say these things. I mean, do you go, okay, I get that? Or you go, I don't know, I think I've got it.
I trust the directors that I work with. It's an interesting gig being a guest actor. A lot of people talk about being a temporary worker is like being the new character on the fifth season of a show, and I'm like, well, that's what I am. I'm always the new character on a new season of a show, and I come in and you're kind of an outsider and you're just expected to do the best you can. A lot of times, and this is not a complaint, but a lot of times directors, they don't want to have to work with the guest stars.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to say, give me specific directions. They prefer that I come in with my ideas, and uh, and do what I do. And if typically the only time I get spoken to by directors about my performance is if I'm doing it wrong, and if I'm doing it right, I don't hear anything. But it's a collaborative effort, and I had a stage director I worked with for 6 years, and he had a lot of really good colloquialisms, but one of my favorites, one that I got from him was, "You're not Clint Eastwood. You can't see what you're doing on camera, on stage. You can't see what your performance is. That's what directors are for, because we can see what you're doing, and I'm telling you that's wrong." And that was an important part of it. It's like, I am not Clint Eastwood. I can't just go, "Yep, that was perfect," and walk on. I have a lot of self doubt about what I'm doing, and a lot of that imposter syndrome that a lot of actors have, and I do my best to just kind of ignore it and trust the process, and trust that no director worth his salt is gonna let me make me look like a fool on camera and hurt their production.
Yeah. They don't want to hurt their product. No, I
Right.
get that.
Um, so yeah, if they say that's good, I go, okay, fine, that's good. If they say, hey, can we do another one where you're, a little less, or you're a little more, or however they want to say it, a lot of times I'm just happy to get any kind of direction, quite
Yeah.
frankly. So
The one thing I always find interesting is that you come on as a sub character, as a guest. Basically, you think you're going to do one, two shows most, and you catch on. How do you find out? Does your agent call you, or do they talk to you on the set? Hey, we might want to keep you on a little longer. Like in Breaking Bad, when they're going, I might do a couple, and suddenly you're going, wait a minute, I'm on this show a little bit.
It's tough. It's a business. That's the first thing you have to understand. And if an information can sometimes be used as a negotiation tactic, and a lot of times they don't want to tell you, "Hey, yeah, we're going to bring you back later," because then you have that as a negotiation. Like, "Oh, you plan to bring me back? Oh, then maybe bring up some more money." um, and I don't want to gossip out of turn, but like on Breaking Bad, I've had a producer come up to me and tell me that every episode you do is your audition for your next episode.
That's tough.
And so if we don't bring you back, you'll know why. And then that's the reality of the situation. You're brought on a show with the Pitt. They originally came out and said we have about 5 episodes that we know you're going to do. So be prepared. We aren't going to guarantee you that you're going to get 5 episodes, but we have an idea for 5 episodes. So that's what we'd like to hire you for. I ended up doing 12 for of the 15. Sometimes just in the background because of the way the show is shot and set up. And it was just they kind of just call me as we go, and so like maybe a week or two before the next episode I would get an email going, hey, we'd like to offer you another episode, would you like to do this? And I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And I think because of the prestige of the show, and same with Breaking Bad, after a while a lot of times they'll go, you can just wait and just find out. We'll tell you later. If you aren't available, you won't get to do it. So it's up to you if you want to be available or not. And you're kind of left in that. Well, do I look for other jobs while I'm in between episodes, or do I just kind of take a deep breath and relax and hope that they're going to keep bringing me back? And so, luckily, they kept bringing me back.
It's a tough thing for families and everything else and relationships. And, I was talking to somebody on Chicago Med the other day, and they're from Australia, and he had to tell his family overnight, yeah, we're moving to Chicago. And it's a tough, it's such a privilege, but at the same time, you're going, where am I going to be living for the next, year or a couple months? And I don't even know if I should rent, should I buy? I mean, how much energy goes into that thought process? Are you just going, hey, I'm grateful to be working?
Yeah, I am grateful to be working, but like my family and I have had the discussion. Like, it hasn't happened yet where I've had a role where I've had to move to another state, because I'm a guest star, so I come in maybe 2-3 times and then I'm done typically. But there have been auditions, there have been opportunities like this may end up being a series regular. If you get the part, you're going to have to move to New York City or to Chicago or to wherever we're shooting for the time that we're shooting. And I talked to my kids, my wife, and they're like, "Well, we aren't moving with you. We love it here. We've got friends, family, everything here. We're set up. So if you go and move to New York for a year to shoot a show, we'll come visit, and you can come visit us. But we aren't picking up. We're not going to pick up the whole family and move to a new state for every job you get." I totally understand that. I personally, if that were to happen, if I were to get a series regular job in another state, I would most likely buy an apartment or a condo, some small space for myself, just as kind of an investment to bring me to use for later in life. And I think that would be my goal. Like I said, hasn't happened yet, but got the plan going.
I got the dream. The dream's there. I think it's such a cool thing. When you're an actor, you never know what opportunity is going to come to you. I mean, I host shows, I do this, and about 5 years ago, from hosting radio shows and everything else, like, hey, why don't you try to do stand up? And like this weekend, I'll be performing in Vegas, And I go, how does that even happen where you're going, you go from this to this to this? And I mean, you know, you're doing voice acting, you're dubbing, cartoons and anime.
Mhm.
I mean, when that offer, you go, what do you want me to do? And you go, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah. That's always been kind of the entertainer's journey. Is like you just say yes to everything, get whatever. I got that when I was studying music in high school. I was a I was a voice major, but in college, but in high school at a school in England, I was offered an opportunity to play keyboards for a band, and it was a heavy metal band. And I said, why would you want keyboards for a heavy metal band? I like you wouldn't even be able to hear the keyboards, and like I was like I was kind of on the fence. And my music director heard that, and he said, You're a musician, you're an artist. You take every opportunity you can get. You never know where that opportunity is going to take you. Um, and this is a chance for you to perform live, to get experience, to learn how to work with other people. Take what you can get, especially when you're starting. And then once you get established, then you can start being a little more picky about what you're going to do. But like you don't really you aren't in a place to be picky right now. So take what you can get and get everything you can out of it. Learn as much as you can, use that experience, and then if you decide you want something else, move on later. But what's it going to hurt to try?
Now, I kind of loved one thing about Breaking Bad was I had heard this rumor, and I don't know if it's true or not, that somebody heard you playing. They found out you could play keyboards, and they go, "Hey, we're going to write this into the show because he has this gift." I mean, how does that even happen?
Well, the writers were really smart. They one of them told me, what we watch all the actors, we follow them on social media, we watch them when they're not on set, and we listen for clues that we can use to help ground their character, to help make them, add more depth to them. And so I heard that, and I was like, well, I got to show off all my skills. And if I could have brought a unicycle to the set and ridden around on a unicycle, you might have seen Skinny Pete riding a unicycle, because that was one of those skills that I had at the time. Um, but yeah, we were shooting in a church for the Narcotics Anonymous scenes, and we took a break, and there was a piano in the room. And first Matt Jones started playing the piano, and then he stepped away and I stepped up and started playing. And just as I started playing, a writer walked by, and you can see them walking and just kind of stop and turn and look, and then walked off. And then a few months later, I get a call going, "Hey, what songs can you play? Which songs would you be willing to play?" And I sent them a list of all the songs that I thought I might be able to pass off as being pretty good. And they came back with the song that they used, Solfeggiato by Carl Emanuel Philipp Bach. And they went, "Play this one." And I went, "Absolutely." I honestly, when they asked me if I would play, I was like, "I will play, I will sing, I'll write my own music for this. What do you want?" And they're like, "No, just calm down.
Yeah.
We just want you to play a piano piece." And so, yeah, I jumped on it. It was, but it's such a great way to develop a character. I mean, it's like, why, instead of going, "Hey, can you learn how to juggle in 3 days?"
Yeah.
Like, no,
I
I
can.
can't. But
I can if I can.
I could try.
I could try, yes.
um,
But
but yeah, taking skills that they already have and using those to your benefit. That's just smart. And I'm really glad I got that opportunity.
well, I tell you, Charlie, I've loved everything about this interview. I love
Oh,
talking
thank
to
you.
somebody who has had this great journey and they're still fighting the good fight. So I
Uh,
look forward to talking to you again.
oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it, Jeff.
You take care.